Today I'm going to teach you how to create the best split letter designs in Sillhouette Studio. And if you stick around until the end, I'll give you a bonus tip on how to make your designs look even better. Hey everybody, so I'm going to start off by showing you a common way split letter designs are made and the problem with this method. So the first thing we're going to do is create a couple of letters. I'm just going to use an M and an S, and we're going to use the same two letters for both methods, so that way you can see the difference. I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm just going to click. I'm going to type the capital letter M, highlight that. I'm going to come over to my text styles and just type in there Times New Roman. And I'm going to go ahead and bold that. I'm going to click on my pointer tool, select my letter. I'm going to hold down Option, click and drag to make a copy of that. Another way you can make a copy of that is by right-clicking on the mouse, coming down to duplicate. A third way you can do that is select the letter, come up to Edit and Duplicate, or if you're on a Mac, you can click on it and hit Command D, and that'll also duplicate it. So there's a few different ways you can do that. I just use Option, click, and drag to make a copy. It's a lot quicker. If you're on a Windows computer, there's probably a shortcut for that. It's probably like the Control or Alt key. You'll just have to give it a try and see. But when you hold down the key, you should see it change to this little plus with the arrow. And that way you know that you can duplicate it. All right, so after we make this copy, I'm just going to double click to bring up my text tool, highlight that. I'm going to type a capital S. Then I'm going to select both letters. I'm going to come up to Object and do Convert to Path. So now they're objects and no longer text. So what I want to do is just make these even numbers so they're easier to work with. So I'm going to click on my M, and you can either come up here in the toolbar and under width and height to change this, or you can open up the transform palette and you can use the width and height here under the specified dimensions. But I'm just going to go ahead and use it in the toolbar here. So I've got my M selected. I'm going to click on the width and highlight that, and I'm going to type 6. Tab over to the height and hit 5, so that way it'll be 6 inches by 5 inches. Then I want to hit return, and it's going to resize my letter for me. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to this blue color just so we can see it. Then I'm going to get my S, select that, change it to blue, and I'm going to make the S 5 inches tall like the M, but I'm only going to do it 4 inches wide since it's a little bit smaller character. So I'm going to come back to the width, type in 4, height 5, and then hit return to resize it. You can make these letters whatever size you need them to be for your design. I'm just doing them this size just for these examples. I'm going to drag these over here, and I'm going to make a copy of my M. So I'm just going to hit Option, click, drag it M over here. Now what I want to do is center this on the page. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can either come up here to the menu bar, and you'll see this little icon here, and that'll center it to the page. So you can click that to center it to the page. You can also come over here under transform. The first little icon is a line. You can click the first one to center it to the page. The second one just centers it with other objects. All right, so we have our M ready. Now I'm going to show you the common way I've seen this done and the problems with that. What we want to do is click the little box tool, draw out a box. I'm going to change the color of that just so we can see it better. And I'm going to make this a 1/2 inch tall, and since this is 6 inches, I'm going to make it 8 inches wide. So we'll just use the little box here in the transform palette. So we'll just click on 0.5 for the height, and we'll just type in 8 for the width. Now we want to center this line with the M. So I'm just going to click and drag to select both objects. I'm going to come over here to my transform palette, click the align. I'm going to click this second little center button, and that's going to center the M with the line. And now what I want to do is weld these two pieces together. So we can come up here in the toolbar again, and you'll see the weld, or you can come down to the modify palette and you can see the weld here. So we're going to click and weld those together. Let me just change the color of that so that you can see I welded those together. Now what I want to do is click on the box tool again, and I want to get like right in the middle here and click and drag to make a box to cover the bottom half of this design. And I'll turn off the color for a second so you can see that we've got this little line covering the whole bottom part. Now I'm going to go back to my pointer tool, click and drag to select both of those objects. And this time we're going to come back to the modify palette and we're going to hit divide. And that's just going to break the monogram up into several little pieces. So now we want to delete the pieces we don't need. So I'm going to click this big part, delete. I'm going to click this little inside part and delete that. I can click on this bottom part and change the color. Now you can see we created a split letter monogram. So now what we can do is just click and drag and select both of them, make them both the same color. And in order for these to stay together, just select them both, come over here to the modify, and you want to click compound path make, and that way it groups it all into one piece. So now let me show you what the problem with this method is. If you'll look at how these lines line up here, you can see that this line doesn't line up with the bottom line, and this bottom line doesn't line up with the top line. And even on this side you can see, and you know, this letter doesn't really look too horrible, but you can tell it doesn't really all line up and it's not really a great split letter monogram. So let me just bring this over here. I'm just going to reduce the size down, and I'm going to grab my S, bring that over, make a copy of that, and we'll do this one, and you'll be able to see a big difference in this one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to click on the rectangle tool, and we're going to click to make a rectangle. And again, we'll do a 1/2 inch tall. Since this is only 4 inches wide, we'll make the bar 6. So we'll do 6 inches wide, and we'll do 0.5 inches tall, hit return. And you can make this narrower, more narrow if you want to. So we could do like 0.25. And then we'll add a color to that. Grab our pointer tool, click and select both pieces. We'll come up here and center those. And now what we want to do is weld those together. So come over here to modify, weld. Now they're all one piece. And again, we'll grab our rectangle tool, click here like right in the middle of that line, click and drag a box to cover the bottom part. And you don't even have to like fill the box in, just so you cover it, it'll still work. So I'll click the pointer tool, select both pieces, come over to modify, hit divide, and then we can just click this part and delete it. And I'll grab this part and make it a color, drag it down, and you can see that we've created our split letter design. I'll just grab both of those, make them a color, and we'll go ahead and go to modify, compound path, make, so it's all one piece. And you can see here, after we get the S cut in half with the lines, that it just doesn't look very good at all, because these lines just don't line up at all. And even if you tried to move this top part of the S over, it's just going to be off-centered and just kind of look bad. So now that I've shown you the common way this is done and the problems with that, let me show you the way that works the best. Let me reduce that down so we can compare them in a minute. I'm going to grab another copy of my M, so I'm going to click on it, make a duplicate, and again we're going to get our box tool, click and draw a box. And since our letter is 6 inches wide, we want to make the box 8 inches wide. And again, if you have like a long name, you can make it longer or shorter, you know, however you want to do it. And this time we're going to make this box 1.5 inches tall. So we'll do 1.5 inches, and then we'll hit return. I'm going to go ahead and fill that box in, click on the pointer tool, click and drag to select both objects, come up to the menu, or either you can come to the transform up here under a line and hit center those. And then what I want to do is just click on this box, and I want to make a duplicate of that. So I'm just going to hit Command D to make a duplicate, and I'll change the color so we can see that it's a different color. Now I'm just going to click and drag to select all 3 pieces, and I'm going to come back up here to center those all together. And you can see that's still under there. And I want to click this top box, and since we did 1.5 for this box, I want to reduce this size down a little bit. So I'm going to come back over here to my scale, my specified dimensions, and I want to change from 1.5 to 1.25, and it'll shrink that down. And then you want to click on your letter and click on the yellow box, the bigger box, and weld those together. So now we've got those welded together, and click on the purple box. And I usually like to drag these out just a little bit. Sometimes when you knock these out, you'll get like a little line there that doesn't quite get knocked out on the blue. So I usually like to make it just a little bit wider so it knocks it out cleanly. Click the M to select that. We'll hold shift and click the purple box. So now we've got both pieces selected. And I'm going to come back over here to modify. And this time I'm going to hit the subtract button to knock out the purple from the blue. Now we have our split letter design. And you can see it's in 2 pieces. So once you do that, just select both pieces and hit compound path make. And now it's all one piece again. And you can see right down here at the bottom of the M, there's like a tiny little white dot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to before I welded those 2 pieces together. All right, now see, I've got these pieces, they're separate again. I just hit undo until I got back to the step. So what I can do is I can either move this down and completely get rid of that, or what I'd rather do is just move this up a couple of spaces, just so it's got, you know, white for the bottom of the M. And then we can weld these 2 pieces together, the yellow and the blue weld. Then we'll click the purple, make it a little bit wider, select both pieces, and then subtract to knock that out. With those still selected, hit compound path make. And now we're all done with our monogram. So I'm going to move this over to the side a little bit. I'm going to change the color of this. And I'm going to grab this M that we did first. Just blow this up some. And I know the lines look a little different because I did them a little thicker on this one and a little thinner on this one. What I'm trying to show you is how the letters look. So now you can see there's a lot of difference in how these lines don't line up and how these lines do line up. So it just looks a lot better doing your split letter designs this way. So if you needed your letter to be taller like this, you could just grab that M, and instead of doing 5 inches tall by 6 inches wide, you could always just come up here to the height. Let's just say we'll change that to 7, make that taller. And then again, what we'll do is we'll just grab our box, draw the box, and we'll do 8 inches wide, 1.5 inches tall. Get our pointer tool, grab both pieces, center those together. We need to make another copy of this green one, so we'll just click it, Command D to duplicate it. I'll just change the color again so you can see. I'll grab all 3 pieces, center those. Now I'm going to grab the pink box, reduce it down to 1.25. And now I'm going to grab the green one and the blue M, weld those together. Click my pink box, drag it out just a hair so that it'll knock out the ends clean. Click and drag to select both of those, hit subtract, and now we're done. Well, almost done. Let's select both of those and hit compound path so that it's all one piece again. And still the lines line up on the M. Okay, so let me go ahead and reduce these down. And let's do this M. Let me reduce that one down too. Click and drag an S here, and click and drag another copy here. This one will do it 6 inches tall instead of 5. So I'll grab my box tool again, drag out a box, get our pointer tool, go back to our dimensions, 6 inches wide by 1.5 inches tall. Now I'm going to get my pointer tool, grab and select those, center. And you can see on this one where the box is touching the bottom of the S. So you can either leave it that way if you want, or you can click it and just arrow up a little bit just to kind of center it between those 2 points. But it's just however you want your design to look. So I'm going to click on this box, Command D to make a copy, change the color. Got 2 copies. I'm going to select all 3 of those. I'm going to center those again. I'm going to have to move this back up a little bit again. That looks pretty good. I'm going to click the purple box. I'm going to go 1.25 inches tall. Shrink that down a little bit. I'm going to click the green box and the letter, weld. Click the purple, drag it out just a little bit. Select both pieces, subtract, compound path make, and we're done. So there's the S that way. Now let's do the taller S. Again, grab our box, drag out a box. We'll do 6 inches wide, 1.5 inches tall. Now, since I have that selected, I'm going to hit Command D, go ahead and make a copy of that. Get my arrow tool, click and drag and select all 3 objects. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit center. And you can see that it's centered those. I've still got a little room here and a little room there, but it's a little uneven. So you can either move this up some to make it even. You can even make your box a little bit taller to take up that extra space. But I'm just gonna arrow this up some and just kind of center it in between there. That looks pretty good. So I'm gonna click my top box, the pink one. I'm gonna make that 1.25 inches tall. Then I'm gonna grab the S and the green, weld those together. Click on the pink, drag that out just a little bit. Select both pieces, subtract, compound path, make, and now we got our S. And you can see both ways I did that the lines all line up. On the shorter one and the taller one, the lines all line up. Unlike this one where you can tell a big difference. So anyway, that's how you make the best split letter designs in Silhouette Studio. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to add a name in here. So let me show you how to do that. I'm just going to grab our M here, bring that up. We'll make this tall again. So I know it was 8 inches wide, so I'm just going to click on that. Click that little lock, click on the width, make it 8 inches. Make that 8 inches tall, or 8 inches wide, I mean. So in order to add a name in here, you're just going to go back to your text styles, type in the name of the font or choose the font you want. And we'll just, for this first example, I'll just use Times New Roman again. Get my text tool, type in a name. Let's just use Mackenzie. I'm going to grab my pointer tool, bring that there. We can just scale this up and, just kind of drag it out or just kind of make it fit where it looks good. And we can change the color of the font to whatever color you want to do, like that or something. And that looks pretty good. But I'm going to show you another way to do this. I'm going to use a script font. I'm going to undo that, back to there. And I have a script font called Black Sword. So I'm going to come back over to my top styles. I'm going to type in Black Sword. There we go. Click on that. I'll go ahead and make that purple again. I'm going to grab my pointer tool, click on this, make it bigger. And I'm just going to put that on there like that. Just kind of fit it in there. And that looks pretty good. I think that looks better than just the regular old font in there, even though it kind of comes out of the lines. I think it just gives a little more depth, a little more character. So let me show you one other thing you can do to make it look like the letter is wrapping around the bars. Let me blow this up a little bit so we can see it a little easier. So what I'm going to do is click on this M, make a duplicate of it. I'll just change the color so we can see it. And I just want a piece of this bar. So I'm just going to click and I'm going to drag a box out here and just select cover all that letter. So I'm going to click this blue letter and then click the green box and I'm going to hit subtract. So now I just got these two blue pieces, but they're exactly the same size and the same location as I need them to be, right? So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to put it right there. And while I have that selected, I'm going to click on my lettering. Actually, first what we need to do is click on the lettering, come up here to Object, Convert to Path. Now it's all in pieces, so we can ungroup it. Object, Ungroup. Now I can click on this little blue bar, and I can hold Shift, click and select the M. I just want to knock this blue bar out of the purple. So while I have those two selected, I'm going to come over to Modify and hit Subtract. And all I did was knock the purple out, but it looks like the purple is wrapping around the pink bar. I can click and select both of those pieces and you can see it's just knocked out of there. And then I want to do the same thing down here with this part of the M. So I'm going to click and drag and I want to do it to this K also. So I'm going to click on the blue bar. So I'm going to hold Option, click, and before I start dragging, I'm going to hold Shift at the same time and drag that out so it drags it in a straight line. I'm just going to put that right there. So now I'm going to click the box here, click my M. I'm going to hit subtract again, and then I'm going to get my K, click this box, hit subtract. So now it looks like we've got our letters knocked out. But this looks kind of funny because it didn't really knock it out exactly like I wanted it to. So let me just undo that. Blow this up a little bit. I'm going to move this K over so I can get it where I want it. That looks good right there. The A is still connected to it. So now I can grab this and the K and subtract. That looks a lot better. It comes around just on the right side of that corner. So that looks a lot better. So now all these are pieces. So let's just click and drag and select all of that. And we have the M selected too. So since we have all that selected, all we want is the purple. What I'm going to do is hold shift and click on the pink to unselect the pink part. Now I only have the purple selected. And with all the purple selected, I'm going to come over here to modify and compound paths and click make. So now when I click that, it's all one piece. Whoops, I can see I made a mistake right here. So what you want to do first is you want to weld these together so you don't get those little white knockouts in there. So let's weld all that together first. And now all these parts are welded together that are touching. And now we want to do compound path so that it's all one piece. There we go. So now you can cut this out of vinyl or whatever. If you want to make a t-shirt or a decal, whatever, you can just cut this out, cut that out, put this down, then match this up where you want it. And you got like a decal or t-shirt transfer or whatever you want to do with it. So that's my bonus tip on how to make your split letter designs look even better. Well, I guess that's about it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. If you like this video, please share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Also, make sure you click the little bell icon and turn on notifications so that you'll know when new videos are available. If you want to follow me on social media, all the links are in the video description below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later.